Good Friday morning, everyone. Made it to the end of another week. For me, I'm very glad to have this week in my rearview mirror. And we've got a little more Seahawks stuff to get into before talking about this upcoming game in Arizona to wrap up the season. So, being that today's Friday, we're going to be taking a look at some pass rush metrics. It's Pass Rush Friday. And, yeah. So you're playing this game against a Lions team with a very inexperienced and quite frankly bad quarterback against a team that doesn't have some of the wide receivers they may have expected to have. A team that is trailing for pretty much the whole game by a large number of points. So on you would expect this to be the game where your pass rush gets to pin their ears back and just go off, right? Like, everything's there. You're playing a team, by the way, that doesn't even have a healthy offensive line. They're beat up on the offensive line, man. So you would expect this to be the week, right? Let's see. All right, defensive ends. Dunlap didn't play very much before he got hurt, and then he left. I hope he doesn't play again this season. I think he's going to be back next year in all likelihood. I don't need him to go out there and prove anything to me at this point. I think we can kind of get a pretty good sense for what happened here with the whole Dunlap thing. Alton Robinson didn't play very much, no pressures. And Benson Mayowa still playing a decent chunk of his snaps in coverage, no pressures. So, nothing yet. Big goose egg so far. Kerry Hyder and Rasheem Green both had one. They both had one QB pressure. I think Kerry Hyder had a QB hit. So, I mean, obviously it's been a little bit of a weird season for Hyder because he missed a few games, and I don't really know what to say about Kerry Hyder at this point as a player. I think he's okay. I don't think it'd be the worst idea ever to bring him back next year for what is going to be a relatively small amount of money, but he definitely didn't have the impact I was hoping for coming out of Frisco. And Rasheem Green is making quite the contract year push. If you look at what he's done over the last 2.5 months, you could almost believe that we have a good player on our hands. But I don't. I'm not buying it. So I just hope the team doesn't buy it, because even in this season of getting decent QB pressure for Rasheem Green, he still overall is a very lacking player. But he's up to 24 pressures on the year now. He'll probably get to 25 this Sunday, so somebody's going to give him some money. All right, so defensive tackles are up next, and this is pretty clean. Nothing for Al Woods, Collier, Monet. I don't think Nkemdiche played. Oh, no, it was Brian Monet who didn't play because of the COVID, I think. Sorry about that. But, yeah, Poona Ford was the only one on the defensive tackle list to have a pressure. He had one, and he's almost halfway to where I wanted him to be this season. So, for whatever it's worth, Al Woods and Poona Ford both have the exact same number of QB pressures this year, and Al Woods has, I think, one more sack. So somehow, some way, Al Woods has become our best interior pass rusher, unless you count when Kerry Hyder moves inside or Rasheem Green moves inside, because they do that sometimes. But yeah, 3-tech is a real problem for this offseason. We need one very badly. I think you could trace a lot of the things that went wrong this season to just not being able to get pressure up front, up the middle, up front. So definitely something to watch for as this offseason gets underway. And that's it for the defensive tackles. So we've gone through 2 position groups, and we are at 3. Not good. Not good. Linebacker. Okay, Bobby Wagner only played 1 snap, so of course he didn't have any pressures. Jordan Brooks got credited for 0 pressures. For my money, he had one, but they didn't credit him with it. I don't know exactly what they were looking for on that play. I feel like he should have gotten credit for a pressure on one of those plays, but it didn't happen. Little bit of good news here. Darrell Taylor back on the board with a QB pressure, so he has a good chance of getting to 20 before the end of the season, which would exceed my expectations. Now, I'm a little disappointed we're here, given how Darrell Taylor played over the first 2 months of the season, where he was really consistently producing, and over the last couple months, it's been a much slower process. But nevertheless, he has had a good season, and I think we can build on this. And also in the good news department would be Cody Barton, who, if you go back to preseason and you watched him on some of those blitzes from the middle linebacker spot, seemed like he was pretty good at it. So in this game, he got to do that a little bit, and one of them got home for a pressure. So he's up to 2 QB pressures on the year, which is pretty much what I expected from him on the season. So I guess that's a feather in my cap. I don't know. Well, I didn't really know how we were going to use Barton this year. Wasn't really expecting him to be the guy who took Wagner's place at the end like this. But regardless, it seems like his ability to blitz from the middle linebacker spot has a little bit of value. So I don't know what the future holds for Cody Barton, but I'm very interested to see what he does this Sunday against Arizona. And yeah, 2 QB pressures from the linebacker spot. I guess that's a little better than average. I don't know. And that brings us to cornerback, where we do not have a complete goose egg, but only because I haven't moved Ryan Neal to the safety area of this chart yet. Ryan Neal is basically playing purely safety for us at this point, and he did have a QB pressure playing safety. He had almost had a sack forced fumble, but they ruled it incomplete, which could have gone either way. But Ryan Neal got a pressure, so I guess he did good. And it's a good thing we don't have the goose egg here, because we definitely have one at the safety spot from the listed safeties. Like Quandre Diggs didn't have a pressure, which is not surprising. But look, I don't know how else to sugarcoat this. Even if I'm right about Jordan Brooks getting robbed of a pressure, we got 6 QB pressures against the Lions, missing players on the offensive line, missing their quarterback, missing receivers, missing, I think, TJ Hawkinson didn't play in that game. And you can't get pressure when they're playing from behind the whole game? I know they never went to an offense that was just pass, 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 but they were passing a lot because they were behind the whole game. So there are opportunities out there and you just can't do it. Even if you give Jordan Brooks that one pressure I was talking about, you're up to 7. That's not good either. This is a game where you should be able to really tee off and get 15 plus pressures. It's crazy. It's crazy that a pass rush can be this bad. We are barely going to get to 150 pressures this year. Barely. And the only reason we're going to get there is because of the extra game. We're getting there because of the extra game. Let's just be real here. So, I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if it's a player thing, but I really don't think it is a player thing. I think it's a scheme thing. I think it's a coaching thing more than anything else. We got to change things up this offseason. This is not okay. Here we are at the end of the year. We are averaging less than 10 pressures a game. Less than 10 QB pressures a game. When investing in your pass rush was a big part of this offseason. Right? You brought back Dunlap. You brought back Mayowa. You brought in Kerry Hyder. You re-signed Poona Ford. Al Woods isn't really a signing you make to rush the passer, I guess, but still a defensive lineman. You got Darrell Taylor in his basically rookie year. Jamal Adams, that trade, a huge part of that was his ability to pressure the quarterback, which took forever to manifest. This might be the most pathetic thing that the Seahawks have to show for their 2021 season, and they have a few pathetic things. All right, guys, I'll see y'all later. Peace out. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think.